Okay. Now, I just want to read some of the passages where he puts the Abinales book as the successor of Agoncillo. So here he says, in the 1960s and 70s, Agoncillo's History of the Filipino People, Decolonized History, blah, blah, blah. And then sabi niya, after 50 years, Agoncillo's book is still in print, and it's still widely used in classrooms across the Philippines, which is unfortunate. This is an important historical document, should now become history rather than impart history. He says, I say this not because I think the Agoncillo book is bad, but because scholarship moves on. Moreover, the concerns of students change. In the 1970s, students grappled with the contradictions of coloniality. Now students are concerned with globality. So meron pa pala naniniwala dito sa globality. After everything that's happened in recent years, where we now know the reality of what it was. It's a new, in my view anyway, it's just a new kind of imperialism. Your average college student, sabi niya, no longer rants about the US and then insert the name of whoever Philippine president you want, dictatorship. So US Marcos, then the US Duterte, I recently saw. Pero parang medyo nakaagulo kasi parang they want to put US Duterte, China, which is a bit complicated when you have three. Rather, sabi niya, the Filipino student now, meaning to say most of you here, the young ones, you live in the Philippines impacted by the ruptures induced by migration, the revolution in information technology and other phenomena associated with a contracting globe. Instead of asking, sabi niya, how have Spain and the United States oppressed us, it becomes more productive to ask, how did the Philippines enter the global economy? But if I follow this suggestion, I have to revise all of my courses because I normally talk about how Spain and the United States oppressed us because they are still, at least one of them is still doing so. No, the thing is, sabi niya po sa libro na ito, State and Society, this book transcends the parochialism of Philippine Nationalist Historiography without losing sight of the specificity of the country's experiences. It is both local and cosmopolitan. And for this reason, State and Society in the Philippines should be the history book of the current generation of Filipino students, who must be weaned from historical navel gazing. It should also be the first introduction of non-Filipinos to the country's history. So this is a book that claims to be a book for everyone, for Filipino students and American students and Phil-Ams and kahit sino na nagbabasa in English. Well, obviously, Agoncillo's history is mainly for Filipino students. But there are problems when you try to write a history for everyone, you know. And I think that's the problem of this book. Because the publisher is American, and the co-author is American, and knowing how it works in the academy, because I've taught everywhere in the world practically, you pay the price. So my friend Vince Rafael, who keeps on saying, oh, well, why am I not as popular as Reynaldo Ileto? Because you never came back, sabi ko. At least I spent 8 years or more, 8 years in the UP after I got my PhD. Now, let me just go to the end of this book, of this foreword. Sabi niya, for the foreseeable future, State and Society in the Philippines will remain the definitive Philippine history textbook. Why are you looking at me? But that is a very grandiose claim. So what I did was, tingnan natin, is it true? So let me go through one chapter lang. I mean, I have actually done a critique of every chapter. And there is one problem with the book which I might as well point out, because you can only see it when you read the whole thing. It is a book about history and trying to show how the history works its way to the present. In the beginning, which I'm sure was written by Amoroso, there's a lot of history. And Philippines is situated in the region, Southeast Asia, because Amoroso did the same degree I did, Southeast Asian history, and talked about many of the same things I learned. Pero pagdating sa gitna, and towards the end, nakikita mo na si Abinales na ang sumusulat. Because what does Amoroso know about Philippine culture and politics when she is a specialist on Malaysia? And does not know a Philippine language, does not know Spanish. Neither of them use Spanish. So it's a very strange book. It's like two books. You have to make a choice. You want to read the Philippines in Southeast Asia, you read the first half. You want to read about Philippine politics without any connection to Southeast Asia, read the second half. So that's a basic flaw of the book. But I don't know if people notice that. But I do, because I was a graduate of the same institutions as both of them, and I know what they teach in Southeast Asian history. And so the first part is Southeast Asian history, and the second part is Philippine politics. And the last chapter on Duterte is a very strange chapter, because parang wala na connection sa first part ng libro. Anyway, let me just now go to the main presentation, which I have maybe, 20 minutes or 30 minutes, huh? 30? Let me just go to chapter 5, okay? I'll do this not as a formal lecture, kasi slideshow. Okay. Nilagay ko na sa PowerPoint yung aking mga comments. So this is a chapter about a period that I'm sure all of you know about, 1872 to 1913. And if you don't know about it, then you're not in UP, or you're not in the history department. The final years of Spanish rule. I don't know how to begin this, because I should have turned it into a proper lecture. In the first part of this chapter, they talk about the well-known mutiny in Cavite and the execution of Father Burgos, Zamora, and Gomburza. And they write that of demographic balance of liberal reform